Hi, good day. Welcome to the garden. It's another wintry sort of day where I am, and it's going to get a whole lot winterier. Like we're going to get in the teens. And where I live, that's like walking across the North Pole. Anyway, so that's kind of a heads up. I owe about 5 people grids. I sent 13 of them out yesterday. To the people who have not yet received an email, um, I have I the bad news is I don't see how I can even start to work on grids till a week from today because I have to open up my house and let the wind run through. And when the wind's 9 degrees, nah, I'm not running through my house. I have to do that to ventilate because of the kind of epoxy I use so that your grids will stay together and be your grids. Anyway, let me turn the sound off on my stupid phone. Um, I want to do a nice shout out to Kim Carey at Intuitiview. She interviewed me this weekend. I don't know when the show's going to go up. When I know when it's going to go up, I'll let you know. Uh, we ended up talking for almost 2.5 hours. They're going to edit it. You don't have to listen to me for 2.5 hours. But we went through kind of everything, my whole evolution. And one of the things we kind of talked about is uh, where'd my purple hair come from? And I've been threatening for a long time to talk about the evolution of my life since my 69th birthday, which was a very important mark. That is the day that I dyed my hair purple. Actually, I went to my hairdresser and he dyed it purple, but that's sort of nitpicky. It became purple on my 69th birthday, and people say, well, why did you do that? I mean, what was the motivation? And the motivation really was, I was reminded this morning when I read an article in Atlantic, and I put a link in below so you can go read the article. It's really short. It's only like 4 paragraphs long, but it's about how as you can become older, you become invisible. And I got tired of being invisible because it's kind of a gradual thing. All of a sudden you can feel people aren't paying that much attention to you, and or you're not, you know, getting the just smiley visual attention you used to get. And then if you go through what I went through before I got my knees replaced, I could barely walk. So I didn't blame people for not wanting to look at me because I could hardly get from here to there. Anyway, but after my legs were fixed and I could get up and about, and I started reading all the time and being at tables. And when I was in my reader mode, when I was in my reader world, people paid attention to me and they looked me in the eye and they smiled and we conversed. And but when I was not, and this my hair was snow white at this point, when I was not in the reader table mode or those environments, which were full of a lot younger people. I mean, it was every age group in the world you could imagine, all kinds, every mix and kind of folks. But there I had kind of a role and had a distinction and I had an individuality. But when I left the table, I was just another little old white haired lady. All of 5'4" of me, plus at that point I was close to 300 pounds. Um, and people didn't look at me. I mean, they didn't pay attention to me. I mean, in a very, not because they were being cruel or mean or anything else. People just don't pay attention to old white haired people or act like you can't or they act like you can't hear what they're saying or understand what they're saying. And so I got tired of kind of feeling invisible. I mean, and I think what finally happened was 2 times in a row at the grocery store, people actually ran their carts into me. Now, really, I'm there. I mean, and I mean, I like to think my svelte little self, which I'm not all the way to svelte yet, but is much better. But at 300 pounds, I was hard to miss. Maybe that's why they hit me with the carts. But anyway, I decided I was going to do something just to shake it up. And so I decided my 69th birthday was as good a day as any. So I packed my butt off to Carl's, and Carl's cut my hair, and he's been cutting my hair for over 35 years. And he had always said, I see you as purple. So he dyed it purple. And I mean, he dyed it really purple. I mean, it was darker than it is right now. Right now it's fading out because I still use wash-in temporary rinses. If I were to go, I would let it go for 6 weeks without coloring it again. You'd see the little old white-haired lady that I was. Anyway, I go to Carl's, get my hair done, send a picture to my 3 old best high school friends. And the first reaction was, what the hell can we do on our birthdays that's going to top this? And then I went to the Costco to put gas in my car. And now, mind you, I also drive a bright orange car. It's a used car. It was not the first color I would have chosen, but it was the car I wanted. So I drive a bright orange car. And got out and I was putting gas in it, and I could feel people staring at me. And I kind of looked around and they were all kind of staring at me. I'm like, so I finished putting gas in my car, and I'd sort of forgotten, because when your hair's on your head, you don't see it in front of you all the time. I got back in the car and looked in the rearview mirror and went, oh, that's what they were looking at. Well, the hair worked. And I must say that this is sort of the beginning of a tale of how I journeyed to losing weight. I'm going to talk about a whole lot of things. I'm going to talk about a lot of inside things I did. I'm going to talk about a lot of meditating that I did. I'm going to talk about a lot of courses that I took just to learn about stuff. I wasn't into doing crystals or grids at this point either. I did, however, have my glasses. I found my glasses before I found my hair, and they were somewhat of an inspiration to doing this. But what I found out, first of all, was when I walked around the first few days I was in my own house, whenever there's sort of a mirror that's just out of the corner of your eye, I'd see a darker haired person in the house. And it was sort of freaking me out. And then I had to learn for myself, it's you. There's nobody else in the house. It's just you. So there's an adaptation to learning it. But the other thing is, I never went unnoticed in the grocery stores again. As a matter of fact, people would come up and talk to me about my hair, especially women my age or just younger than I am. They'd come up and they'd go, oh my God, how did you, I wish I had the guts to do that. And the last incident I'd had of that was standing in line to get my second COVID shot, and you're all there and you're all masked. And it's the closest thing I can think of in standing in line waiting for that shot is I'm an Episcopalian and we have Mass, and you go up and get the host from the priest. That's a little chunk of bread, if you don't know what host means. And you go up and get the little chunk of bread and dip it in the wine, and then you go back and sit till the end of everybody else does the Eucharist. And everybody stands there in that line. I guess we're supposed to be contemplating being humble in front of God and all that stuff. I used to be doing grocery lists and things, and I'm not a good Episcopalian. I'm just an Episcopalian. So you get up there and you get the host. Well, it's kind of like that. You're standing in this line and everybody's very reverent. I have no idea. I guess they're just figuring maybe now I don't need to be so afraid. And we're all standing there, and this man turns around and looks at me, and we go up a couple more of your 6 feet apart things, and he turns around and he goes, I like your hair. How do you do that? And he was my age, a little bit older, maybe not. I'm terrible with age. Anyway, I said, oh, it's a rinse. You can put it in, and if you don't like it, you can wash your hair 16 times and it'll be gone for the most part. And he said, I wish my wife would do something like that, because I'd like to see her break out of the image that she's in right now. He said, not that I don't love her, but she feels like she's invisible. And I thought, oh yeah, I know that. And I told him that's exactly why I dyed my hair on my 69th birthday, was so I wouldn't be invisible anymore. Even if it was just an outward sign of an inward goal within myself, and that's what manifested it, I don't know. But if you read in the Atlantic article, it talks about how some young people are talking about the elderly and about how, well, who cares if we get a vaccine or not, because it's only the old people who die, which first of all is not the truth. And second of all, it's kind of a rude statement. And anyway, the article it triggered it off in me about not wanting to be invisible. And it really is true. Every time when I used to still go out in the world, because I've been locked in for 12 months, not going out very much to the rock shop is about the only place I ever go. But I just want to say, if you're thinking about doing something in your life, I'm not saying I don't want the whole world to show up with purple hair. It's, first of all, it's not for everybody. And second of all, I mean, it's for you if you want it. But but I mean, do something to jazz up where you are. If you're feeling invisible, figure out something you can work on, do, extend yourself, go beyond so that you don't feel so invisible. Because there's nothing as bad as just being invisible to other people. And the day after I got my hair purpled, I went and saw a friend of mine, and he's also a psychic. And he said to me, "How did your hairdresser know?" And I said, "No, to pick this color, you just picked it. Why?" And he said, "Because it's the color of your aura. I don't see auras. I don't do that. You know, not all of us do all the things that are available for people to do. I will do a show on aura colors, though, because I think it's kind of interesting, and kind of how it looks around people. And I think maybe if I took the time to extend my senses to go there, I could probably do it too. Maybe not. I don't know. It's just not one that comes easily to me. And in case you didn't get it, unless I'm totally intrigued, I'm not going to worry about it. But anyway, I just wanted to start talking about that because this is going to be something I talked a little bit with Kim about, the progression of me, because the progression of me in the last 2.5, almost 3 years has been much more dynamic than other years of my life, even when I was younger. And what I've learned to do and what I've learned to handle it's like it's been sort of bringing it all together. And I think it's really important that people know they can keep going. And if you're young, and there were times when I was young, I wish I could have felt invisible. I had a few bosses they're not allowed to do that anymore. They have laws about that. They had laws about that when they were chasing me around the desk, but nobody would enforce them. And I was always faster than they were, so it wasn't a big tragic thing. But if you're feeling as if you're not, like you want to jazz something up or change something, go ahead and change it. Because it's just like with my hair, you know, it'll grow back. You can change it back out. You can re-alter it. You don't, you know, if you want to wear a different color than you've ever worn before, if you want to try a new form of meditation, if you want to learn about crystals and rocks, if you want to watch a reader and figure out how to read cards, if you want to design your own deck of cards, if you say these cards don't speak to me, but what does? I'm also going to put, later in this week, I'm going to do a thing about meditation, because I talked about what clair are you, and several people said, I don't have a clair. Everybody has a clair. I mean, everybody that I've ever known, everybody I ever worked with is psychic. And I tell you how distant you can be from it, but figure it out if you just expose yourself a little bit. Was teaching tarot. I used to teach it at my house, and I tried to have 6 to 8 people in the class so they could all cross read each other, learn about stuff. And I had a class and I only had 7 in it. And one of the women who had signed up called me and she said, "Do you have room for one more?" And I said, "Sure." And I said, "Who is it?" And she said, "It's my neighbor. And her husband really wants her to get out of the house at least one day a week for the next 6 weeks because she's a stay-at-home mom with 3 little kids. And because of his work schedule, it's been very difficult for her to get out and do things." So I was telling him that I was coming to take this class, and he said, "Could she come with you?" And I said, "Well, does she want to come, or is she just being?" She said, "Oh, no, it just intrigued her, and I'm driving her over, and I'm getting her out, and we'll just come and have a good time." So the way my class progresses, you learn numbers, you learn numerology, then you learn the minor arcana, then we do the Fool's Journey, learn the major arcana, and each week we learn different sorts of readings. And then we practice that reading that we've started the week before the next week. Class 6 weeks long. 4th or 5th week, we usually do a past life reading, which is, I know how to do. I kind of stumbled upon it, but anyway, I teach that. And what happens is everybody in the class reads one person at a time. So by the end of the night, we've heard all the different people's interpretations of what past lives they've seen for you. And not everybody at that room sees the same past life. It's kind of interesting. So we're laying out the cards, and we get to this one woman who'd never touched a card, never knew anything, never seen anything about metaphysics. Matter of fact, she was a good little Baptist girl whose family told her it was evil. And I said, well, come and try. And if you don't like it, you don't have to do it. Nobody's going to go home, follow you home and force you. So she actually kind of found out she liked it. She was actually an extremely good reader. I mean, for a person who had no exposure to this one was doing a deal. And we all got to the point where we're laying down her, it's called a Spirit 7 reading, to see the old life and the new life. And it was just stunning. Everybody just sort of stopped and they go, who wants to start? Who wants to start? And I said, well, let me start. Because usually people are just eager to sort of tell you the images they see. And I said, have you ever been to Salem, Massachusetts? And she got this really shocked look on her face. And she said, why? And I said, because if you haven't been in this life, you were in a past life. You were there during the trials. And everybody in the room just kind of quit holding their breath. All of us had seen her in Salem, Massachusetts. And we told her, what had happened. She'd escaped. She hadn't died, but it had been a horrifying experience to live through. And it's haunted her soul. And it's one of the reasons why she doesn't go near any of the stuff we do. And she said, at the end, she said, okay, can I tell you all a story? And it ends up when she was in high school, her high school had a senior trip, and Salem, Massachusetts was on the senior trip. But it was one of those things where they were far enough away from home. They were staying in a motel. And the morning that they were supposed to get up and go to Salem, she was terribly sick. And so a teacher had to stay behind with her and help her get better. And about 4:30 in the afternoon, she looked at the teacher, she said, I don't feel like I've been sick at all. And now I'm feeling totally well. And the teacher said, well, then we'll all go out to dinner tonight. Well, her friends who'd gone into Salem had been kind enough to take seconds of all of the sort of giveaway materials that they have there, like the street map and this happened here and names and places. And she was looking at the street map at dinner, and she goes, that's not the name of that street. And her friends and the teachers all looked at her and they were like, well, we were just there, and the people who live there call that street that name. And she said, I have no idea why I think that's not the name of that street. But anyway, the teacher wrote down kind of what she was looking at and researched it. And it's one of the few street names in Salem that had been changed from old Salem. And she said it so terrified her that she tucked that memory away and hadn't really thought about it until we all told her she'd been to Salem and Salem was important to her. I don't know if she kept reading cards. I know she finished the class, had a great time. The night we have finals in my classes everybody who's in the class gets to invite a stranger nobody else knows. And then you have to go read all those strangers and see how it works. And that's when people figure out cards really work. I don't know if she kept reading. I don't know if I know one of the women I talked with did keep reading and read on her own and enjoyed it. But it's just amazing how we can lock ourselves off from what we really are meant to do. Just like, of course, I've never gone quietly into that good night. That's not my style. But just like me deciding, I'm going to make my hair purple. I'm just not going to be invisible. I'm going to be a purple-haired woman getting out of a bright orange car wherever I go. And if people don't like it. So I hope you enjoyed this story, because you're about to get a whole bunch more about the different techniques I use to get myself ready to go lose over 100 pounds, which is kind of an interesting trip. And it's not just diet. I had to shift the energy, and there's some wonderful things you can do with tapping and meditating and listening to certain sounds and frequencies that can really move your energy so that you're ready for it. Because I hadn't gotten I crept up to 300 pounds but it was hard to find a way to creep down. And I tried several different diets, and I just wasn't in the right space. And actually, I didn't start losing weight till a year after I started really doing grids. So I think having the stones around me and helping them realign my energy helped me too. There's not, someone asked me, what stone do you use to lose weight? Well, if you carry them around, you're not losing any weight. I don't think there's not a stone. There's stones that calm you, uh, stones that let you sleep. I know if you can't sleep, you cannot lose weight. When I have the shortened sleep cycle, I need at least 7 hours of sleep a night. If I don't get 7 hours of sleep a night, I'll get on that scale, and it doesn't care how pure and wonderful all the water I drank, that my macros were perfect, everything else. If I don't get 7 hours of sleep, I get on that scale. And that's what amazed me, is how much weight you lose at night. You know, get on the scale, and it's not just you don't eat for that period of time. There's something else. It's just the way the energy shifts, and it's really important. It's important to get to know yourself. So if for me being me, I needed this hair. It's been a sort of an outward sign of an inward goal. And if I can help inspire someone to say, okay, today I'm going to make that change I want to make. I watched another reader this week who talked about how she made a commitment a year ago to start walking before COVID hit. She made a commitment. She lives in the countryside in England, to go out and walk for a certain period every day. And that change alone has shifted her energy to make what she does stronger. She's already a really good reader. But so if I can help anybody else see the light, move forward, I would love to do it. That's it for today. Tomorrow, we're going to have a really fun subject: poison crystals. Crystals you do not, people, there's a period of time, I guess 2 years ago, where everybody was sticking crystals in elixir jars and mixing it up in the water and taking baths in it. I'm going to give you a list of about 80 crystals you don't want to take a bath with. Not unless you're really in love with poisonous levels of copper. I got a beautiful crystal. And one of my, Alma, who's my mentee, she's a person I work with all the time. I got a crystal, I was showing it to her, and she goes, you know immediately to go wash your hands after handling that, because it's got arsenic on it. So this crystal list, if you want to get it, I'm going to have it posted tomorrow with a show on it, is about poison crystals and handling them. And the most important thing I think to know about these crystals is a lot of the prettiest crystals in the whole wide world look like a chunk of candy for a child. If they suck on it, they probably won't be able to suck enough out to really kill themselves, but they can make themselves pretty damn sick. So that's my thing tomorrow. Pretty things with dangerous pasts. And we'll look at that. And I look forward to seeing you then. And you have a good day. Bye.